Hi, welcome. I am so excited to share with you today. My name is Alice Fairfax, and I am here to share with you the art of storytelling. I am a story coach and a writer, and for a long time, I was an entertainer, an actor at Walt Disney World. And so I'm going to share some from that background. But the real purpose here today is to talk to you about the art of storytelling, because here's what I believe. I believe that the most ancient technology is more effective than the latest technology. And that is the power of story. And I know each one of you are overwhelmed with trying to get your message out there. It's very stressful. You need to figure out a way to capture your audience, connect with the students that you want to talk to. Maybe you do a presentation, you're worried about social media, you're trying to figure out, how do I do that Instagram post? Should we be tweeting? Do we have to do TikTok now? Let me tell you, the answer to all of them is story. It is the ancient power of story, because we live in a story culture right now, don't we? Everyone is sharing their stories and telling their stories. But the truth is, we have always been doing that, right? Our ancestors gathered around the fire circle and shared their stories. Instagram is the fire circle. So don't be afraid. We can do this together. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to teach you one rule, give you one tool that you are going to use in everything that you do, whether it's a flyer that you're putting out, whether it is an Instagram post or creating a TikTok video, whether it's a one-on-one conversation with a student or getting up and giving a presentation. You are going to apply this tool, and it is going to change how you do your messaging and how you do your communication. And it's going to support you in a great way. So before we get to that tool, what I want to do is I want to share with you a story. That's where we're going to start. I'm going to tell you my story, a story from my time at Walt Disney World. And then we're going to take that story and we are going to break it down in the next 15 minutes here. And we're going to apply that tool so that you know how to use it. Okay? So I was a storyteller in Mexico. Well, not the real Mexico, the fake Mexico at Epcot at Walt Disney World in Florida. And I was there during the holidays, and it was my job to gather little children together, and I would interview a student from Mexico about their holiday traditions. Then we would teach the children to say Felice Navidad, which most of you know is Merry Christmas in Spanish. And then we would get them all dressed up as all the characters from the Nativity, the Bible story. And they would do Las Posadas, which is a little parade that they do in Mexico. So there were all these little children gathered there at Walt Disney World, so cute and adorable. They had little hats and little baskets. I gave them out little props, and they would do this little parade. It was so sweet and adorable, and the parents loved it, except for at the 5:15 show. The 5:15 show was not only not good, it was potentially dangerous. And the reason for that is this. At 5:10, all of the Walt Disney World characters, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald, Goofy, Pluto, all of the characters would leave the show that they had just done, the holiday show they just done, and they would get in a big red double-decker bus. You know, those big red double-decker buses like they have in London. And they were all dressed in their holiday outfits, and they were all sparkly and red and green, and they all looked so beautiful. And they would drive down the street, and they would hit Mexico at 5:15 when we were doing our show. Now, they didn't actually hit any of us, but it was dangerous. They were coming down the street, so I would spend the whole show going, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. And then once the characters had gone, we would start the show. So this is not magical, and it wasn't safe. So I sent an email to my director, and I said, you know what would happen if at the 5:15 show, we brought all the little children up on stage, taught them to say Feliz Navidad, we'd wave to the characters as they drove by, then we do the posada, then we do the parade. Well, it's pretty tough to change things at Disney World. It takes a lot of time and a lot of approval. But she said, I can see there's a problem. So, okay, do it 3 times. First 2 times you do it by yourself. The third time I'm going to come and I will approve it or not. All right, no problem. First night, get all the little children on the stage. We teach them Felice Navidad. The bus drives by, they wave. It's better. Not great, but better. No one gets injured. So then I send an email to the character lead. And I say, this is what we're doing. We're going to be waving to the characters when you drive by instead of having them in the street, having the children in the street. So we'll be out of your way and we'll wave. Okay, sounds good. Second night comes by, 5:15 show. The red bus filled with all the characters in their holiday outfits comes by. We wave and say, Feliz Navidad. And a couple of the characters wave back. It's better, but it's not magical. So I send an email again to the character lead and I say, that was great. Thank you so much. The director is coming tomorrow. That's all I said. The director comes, the next day comes, third time, 5:15 show. There's the director, she's across the street. We've gathered all the little children on the stage. The parents are over here taking pictures. The red double-decker bus comes by and Mickey Mouse has positioned himself at the top of the red double-decker bus. And he's got his holiday outfit on, all red and green, and he's got this very fun, festive holiday hat on. And as can only happen at Disney World, they stop the bus and a light from the top of the building hits Mickey Mouse full in the face. And he looks down at the little children and he does one of these. The children go insane. They are jumping up and down. They are screaming, Feliz Navidad, Mickey! They are going crazy. The parents are crying. The parents are taking pictures. I'm crying. I look across the street. The director is crying. We did it. We saved Christmas for the 5:15 show. Now the trick was this. We flipped the script for the 5:15 show to meet that moment. I want to say that again. We flipped the script to meet that moment. Now, we couldn't have done that at any other show. No other time during the day, no other hour would that have worked because the characters weren't coming by any other time, only for the 5:15 show. So every other hour of the day, we did one story. At 5:15, we flipped the script and did the story a different way. And that's what I want you to know, is you are going to have your story to tell. You are going to have the stories of your organization and your group to tell. And you are going to be able to flip the script and meet whatever moment you need to meet with your audience. And so I'm going to teach you how to do that. The first way I'm going to do that is with this great tool. So I'm going to show that to you now. This I call the story mantra. This is the best rule for telling a great story. And it is this: universal, so we relate; specific, so we care. I want you to look at every single piece of communication, whether it's an email or a story that you tell or a flyer that you send out. Does it have these qualities? Universal, so we relate; specific, so we care. So what did you relate to most in the story that I told you? Who has ever told a story to small children? Probably all of you. Who has ever had to give a presentation before? Who has ever had to give a presentation with their boss watching? Maybe some of you. Who has ever been the Mexico holiday storyteller at Walt Disney World? It's just me. It's just me. There's literally one other person on the entire planet that has done that. Just me and one other woman. So that is not the part that you related to. But what happens when we tell a story or when you hear a story? You think, that has happened to me, right? Isn't that how we feel when we hear a great story and when we hear someone relate their experience to us? Oh, that's happened to me. Well, this has never happened to you. You have never been the holiday storyteller at Epcot, at Walt Disney World, in Mexico, at the 515 show. That has only ever happened to me, right? So that isn't what you related to. That was the specific so that it kept your interest. So let's talk first. I want to talk about that first part of the story mantra, universal so we relate, and help you find a way to make your stories universal so that people relate. So the story that I told, Felice, Navidad, Mickey, who has ever worked on a project that was frustrating? Right? Who has ever had a job that wasn't quite working? Who has ever been afraid of losing their job because something wasn't working? Who has ever wanted to overcome an obstacle and make something excellent? Who has ever wanted to be more, be better than what their circumstances allowed? That's what that story is about. Specific, so we care. It's a story about a storyteller and Mickey Mouse during the holidays at Walt Disney World. Well, that's fun. But what the story is really about is a woman who is desperate to be better and make something more of herself. Every single person that you meet on this planet, no matter what culture, no matter what city, no matter what country, knows what that feels like. Every single person knows what it feels like to want to be more than your circumstances allow. And so that is the universal so we relate. So if you can find that part of your story, what is the deep universal theme that anybody could relate to? You will always connect with your audience. Always, always, always. Right? So now I want to show you how to a tool that will help you find that universal. Many of you are probably familiar with this. This is called Maslow's hierarchy of need. It is a pyramid that talks about our needs, and we start at that bottom part of the pyramid, the physiological needs, and then we move up from there, because once that bottom part of the pyramid is met, then we can think about the next need and the next need and the next need, because all of us have that basic need, right? And some of you are in communities and situations where that is the most important need, and nobody can think beyond that need, right? So here's where you want to start. You want to think about the group that you serve, the audience that you are trying to speak to, the students that you are speaking to, and where are they at on that pyramid? Are they dealing every day with the bottom layer of the pyramid and getting those needs met? Air, food, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, those basic needs. If that's where there are, that's where you want to tell the story. In terms of the universal, what is it that everybody can relate to? Everybody can relate to needing to survive. Everyone, right? Now you think, here you look at me in Orlando, Florida. Can she relate to needing to survive? Of course I can. I work with a lot of nonprofits that serve food, like food banks and for hunger nonprofits. And they always say to me, oh, well, everybody can relate to being hungry. Well, can we? You know, I just had breakfast, and in 2 or 3 hours, I'm going to be starving. I'm going to feel like I'm starving. Hunger isn't what I can relate to. Can I relate to fear? Yes, I can relate to fear. I can relate to the fear of being without food. I can relate to the fear of, if I lose this job, how will I feed my family? What will happen next? That I can relate to. So again, I want you to think about that pyramid and think about what is the feeling that goes along with each layer of the pyramid, right? So fear on that that lower rung. Safety needs, personal security, employment, resources, health, property. Those are that next level. That's that next level of need of moving forward. Love and belonging, an incredibly important part of our universal needs, our universal themes. And here's the thing that I want you to think about too. Make a list of your universal themes. That's what I want you to do to find the right stories. You just want to list a bunch of words: love, belonging, fear, needs being met, anxiety. What are the things that your people that you serve are going through? And think about it on this list. And the thing about this pyramid is that even when you are in that bottom rung, needing food, shelter, you are dreaming of the highest one. You are dreaming of self-actualization, the desire to become the most that you can be, right? That is how our brains work. When we are able to meet that need, when we are in a survival mode, the reason we keep going is because we're thinking of that higher thing that we could be one day. We could have, if I make it through this, I could get to love and belonging. We're seeing it as a light at the end of the tunnel. So when you tell a great story and you tell a story to the people that you serve, maybe you start with that fear, with that fear, and you help move up. This thing I didn't tell you about the Felice Navidad story is that was a time when I was in my middle 30s. I had an 8-year-old child who has special needs, autism. I had just moved from Texas back to Florida. I didn't have a job. I only had this job for the holidays. It was ending on December 31st. I was living with my parents, going through a divorce with this, he was probably 8 years old, child with autism. I had to make the 5:15 show work. It was survival. So the story appears to be this story about self-actualization, about telling a story at Walt Disney World. Fun. That is something that's way high up on the pyramid. But for me, what I was going through was survival. I had to prove to my boss that I could make the 5:15 show work so that she would hire me in January. Desperate need. Universal, so we relate. That's the important thing. So that's the first thing that I want you to do. I want you to make a list of all of the universal themes that you are experiencing in your community and that your audience is experiencing. And that will tell you what is the base of your story. The next thing is specific, so we care. Specific, so we care. You have to paint a picture that keeps people's attention. If I had told you the story this way, you know, I moved back to Florida. I was living with my parents. I had my little boy, he has autism, and I really needed a job. And I was doing this job, and I did all these shows every day. And at the 5:15 show, it just wasn't really working. So I worked really, really hard to overcome it. And finally, I found a solution, and that meant that I was going to have a job, and it just was great. Well, that sounds important. Because it sounds important because I mentioned that I have a child with autism and that I didn't have a job, but it's boring. It's a boring story because you can't picture it. You aren't seeing anything. That is that second key, specific, so we care. Your brain, my brain, everybody's brain works in this way. We are constantly trying to solve a puzzle. Our brain is constantly trying to figure out information and put together those puzzle pieces. So when you give someone some specific pictures, a red double-decker bus, Mickey Mouse, Mexico in the holidays at Walt Disney World, little children, my boss, the director. When you give people a little picture of something that's going on, Their brain starts to paint the picture themselves. They see it. It's like they're watching a movie. They feel like they're in the movie. Specific, so we care. So an exercise that I want to offer you is I want you to describe a fond place in your memory. Maybe a place that you went as a child, your grandmother's table, a family trip to the beach, a park that you liked going to. Maybe it was a library or a toy that you like to play with. And I want you to describe it to a coworker. I want you to describe it using the 5 senses: taste, touch, smell, sound, sight. Use all of those 5 senses. And again, you'll make yourself another list. You'll describe the location using that sight. What are the colors you see? What are the images you see? What are the smells going by? What are the sounds that are there? What have you touched? What does it feel like? Is there a taste that's associated with it? And you make a list of all of those specific details, right? And then here comes the fun part. You get to pick which details, which specifics to leave in and what to leave out. This is really important. Here's the question that I want to ask you. What kind of hat was Mickey Mouse wearing in the story that I told you? I want you to think about it and I want you to picture it. I said it was a holiday hat, right? So that could be, when I describe this story and ask this question, most people have a different answer, everyone in the group. Some people will say, oh, a holiday hat. Mickey Mouse, he was wearing a red Santa hat with a white ball on the end of it. That's how I saw him. Other people say, oh no, he was wearing a silk top hat and it had a sprig of holly on it and a plaid band around it. Very formal. Oh, no. Mickey Mouse was wearing a sweater and he had like a sweater knit cap with a knit pom-pom on top. Well, I can tell you that I have seen Mickey Mouse dressed all 3 of those ways in the amount of time that I worked at Walt Disney World over the 20 years I worked there. I've seen him dressed in all 3 of those outfits. And I don't know which hat he was wearing during this time when I was telling the story in Mexico, because I've told this story so many times and people have added their own pictures to me. I don't remember. I don't know exactly what he was wearing, but that's the key. I gave enough pictures: red double-decker bus, Mickey Mouse driving down the street, the small children, the light hitting his face. You paint the picture. You painted the picture. You want to leave a little bit of room for your audience's imagination. You want their mind to start thinking, to start painting the picture themselves and fill in those specific gaps. And that's what we call that hook. I bet you've heard people say, oh, we need to get more sticky stories. That's a phrase that's being said a lot right now in our story culture. Stories need to be sticky. They need to go viral. Has somebody said that to you? Oh, we need to make a video that goes viral. This is the key to it. Specific, so we care, but not so over painted that there's no room for your audience's imagination. Because if I overdo, have you heard someone tell a story like that? Oh, well, there was a red double-decker bus and Mickey was on top and he had the sweater on and it was kind of a brown kind of a sweater, but it had some red and gold in it. And then he had this hat. Oh, so boring. When are they going to get to the point? Too many specifics and it gets boring. But there must be some specifics so that it captures the imagination and that your audience starts painting the picture themselves. So make a list of all the specifics about the story, about your organization. What are the color of the uniforms that students wear? What are the smells? What can they touch? What do you do together? Sights, sounds, smells, colors, images. Make a list. Now you have your 2 lists: universal themes, specifics. Start painting. Start painting that picture. And I want to tell you why. The reason is our brains are designed to survive and thrive. There's an expert named Ask Science Mike who uses science to help companies figure out how their customers think. And he says that in an effort to conserve calories for our survivals, our brains sort through useless information. Your brain is dumping information that it doesn't need for its survival or for its thriving. Here's the great thing about story. Story organizes information in such a way that our brains retain the information, because a story identifies a problem. The 515 show didn't work. And then it provides a plan to help us conquer and overcome that challenge. I emailed my director. I asked if I could flip the script. So now you have listened to this story and your brain flagged, this is important. If I get into a situation where something's not working, I could flip the script and make it work. Story tells our brain that this information is important for your survival and for your ability to thrive. Here's the thing. Your audience cares about their wants and needs. They don't care about yours. You don't really care whether I survived the Mickey Mouse holiday story time in Mexico. You care if you survive and thrive. So when I tell a story that has a universal theme that makes you care and shows you a plan for how I survived a difficult situation, then you start to care. Your brain locks into that. And you need to show through your stories that you care about the survival of the people that you're talking to and about helping them move from survive to thrive, helping them move from that bottom of the pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of need up to the top one. Then your stories will connect no matter what you tell them, whether you tell them through TikTok or an Instagram post or on a flyer or in a one-on-one conversation. No matter how you tell that story, the story will connect. When you touch on a universal theme that anyone can relate to, add in specific details that keep their attention, then you will have mastered the art of storytelling. I want to thank you so much for your time today. I am so happy to share this information with you. I want you to remember that story mantra: universal, so we relate; specific, so we care. Use that wherever you go, and that is going to help you become a great storyteller.